Hello, my beautiful crafty friends. I'm Katia with Lunar Sun Creations, and I have a mini album to share with you. I used Stamperia's Oriental Garden. It's a very old collection, but I'm trying to use up some of the massive paper collection that I have. But you can use any papers that you so desire. It's a fairly simple album. It's actually really good for things like markets. I'm doing quite a few craft markets in the next little while. And this album is great because the way I've designed it, you can create multiple albums all at once. That's what I've been doing. I've been kind of doing like an assembly line fashion and cutting all the pieces out and doing about four albums worth of pieces at a time, and then scoring them all at the same time, and so doing it in assembly line fashion. So I'm kind of creating 4 albums all at the same time because the page designs look, they're very cool page designs, but they're also very simple. I don't have tags in the sides, but these also are open for tags. I have to put some some tags in the pockets of those. I just realized I just finished the album. And yeah, I think it's a really good one to be able to make multiples of at the same time, thus saving you a whole lot of time, and then you can have more of a profit margin. There's quite a bit of white space in here, as you'll notice, because I like to have my albums so that people can journal in them just as much as they can add photos to them. All right, so that is the album. If you'd like to make it, stay tuned and we will do the full tutorial. And pardon the band-aid, I cut myself earlier, and this was a bright pink band-aid earlier this morning and it's all faded. So yeah, anyway, stay tuned. Let's make this album. Okay, let's go over the materials that we'll need and then we'll start creating. So for adhesives, I will be using my ATG gun to adhere the pattern paper. If you don't have an ATG gun, you can just use score tape. So we will need some score tape. I like to use wet adhesive in conjunction with the score tape to make sure it's really, really strong. But if you just have one or the other, that's fine. You will need some scissors and some disc magnets. I use 10mm by 1mm disc magnets, so we'll need a few of those. Not too many though. I think I used maybe 10 or so. Could be a few more. I haven't counted them. We'll need our paper trimmer, our scoreboard with bone folder and scoring tool, black cardstock or whatever color cardstock you would like to use. Mine is 80 pound, which is 230 GSM, I believe. And then I just use a craft pick to get the backing of the score tape off. And then you'll need a piece of like a fairly heavyweight chipboard for the covers. Okay, I'm just gonna clean up my area and then we'll get started. Of course, you will also need your patterned paper, whatever it is that you are going to be using. Okay, so for the base pages, we will need 3 pieces that measure 6 inches by 11 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be working in inches throughout the whole tutorial, so if you work in centimeters, you're going to have to transcribe that. But most of the people, I think, who watch me work in inches. So put it in your scoreboard on the 11-inch side. We are going to score at half and 5 3/4. Okay, and we're going to do that to all 3 of them. Half and 5 3/4. Okay, move your scoreboard out of the way for a moment. We're going to add score tape to the 1/2 inch section of each of these. And make sure that your score tape does not cover over your score lines. Make sure there's like a tiny space. Okay? You don't want any adhesive right on your folds because then things will get stuck to it. All right, now we're going to miter the corners. I'm just going to do all 3 at the same time because they're the same size. So we're just going to go at an angle from the score line to the edge. So just like that. This is just aesthetics. This just makes for a cleaner fold. Okay. And then we are going to fold and crease all of those score lines. And add some wet adhesive, remove the tape backing, add some wet adhesive, just a tiny bit, and fold it up. Okay, so you're going to have an open kind of hollow thing like that, so open it at each end, and that's going to be your base page. So let's just do that to the other 2. Definitely use your bone folder. The nicer the crease is, the better everything will fold. So it's always a good idea. Oh, sorry, that was a horrible noise. Okay, easy peasy. There are your base pages. Moving on to the first page design. For each of the measurements that I'm going to be giving you, cut each piece out twice because we're going to be doing 3-page designs and then we'll be repeating them. Okay, so cut them out twice now and it'll save you time if you do it now. So our A piece is 4.5 inches by 6.25. Our B piece is 4.5 by 5 inches, and our C piece is 4 inches by 5 inches. Okay, so cut those out twice, and then we're going to be creating 2 pockets. So the tag sizes to go in the pockets. One, I mean, you can do smaller or multiple tags if you want to go in the pockets, but I've got one that is 3 3/4 by 4.5, and then the other is 5 by 4 7/8. Okay, so those are for inside the pocket. So you can cut those, but set them aside. All right, grab your scoreboard again. So for the A piece, we are going to score it at 1/2 on the 4.5 inch side. Okay. Then we're going to rotate it. So it's now on the 6 1/4 side, and you're going to score at 1/2 and 5 3/4. Okay. And then your B piece, we're going to score that at 1/2 on the 4.5 inch side. Again, we're going to rotate it, and we're going to score at 1/2 and 4.5 on the 5 inch side. So they have the same kind of score lines, like on 3 sides, but they're just different sizes. And then your C piece, we are scoring at 1/2 on the 5 inch side. Okay, so those are your pieces. Put your scoreboard away. We're going to add score tape once again to all of the 1/2 inch sections. So on the A and the B, there's going to be score tape on 3 sides. Okay, so for the A, we're going to miter these 2 corners, just like we did the base pages. But when we've got the intersecting score lines, we're going to cut in at an angle till the score lines meet, and then we're going to cut out at an angle. So it's going to create, it's not quite straight across, there's a little bit of an angle there. And again, that's aesthetics. If you prefer to go straight across like that, if that's just easier for you, you can do that. I just find the other way to be a little bit neater. Okay, so do the B pocket in the same fashion as the A. So I just cut into where they meet, and then I kind of turn my scissors a little bit to make that angle. And then the C piece. Okay, so get your little biddies out of the way. Grab your bone folder. We're going to crease all of those score lines. Okay, grab one of your base pages, make sure the openings are to the sides, and we are going to take the score tape backing from the sides of your A piece. And we are going to fold the bottom portion down so that it connects, it adheres just at the corner there. Remove that piece and then put a little bit of adhesive all the way around. Okay, and then that is going to go on the left edge of your base. Okay. Just like that. Okay, and then your B piece, again, remove the side pieces first, adhere that bottom bit, and then remove the bottom. We do this because this way our tags will slide in really easily. If we put the bottom underneath the 2 sides, it can get caught on the bottom lip right there. So that's why I do it that way. Okay, add some wet adhesive to that. Okay, and that is going to go right on top of that first pocket. Like that. And then your C piece is going to close over that pocket. Okay, so right at the top of your A piece, and then we're going to add 1 magnet. So we're going to take a tiny piece of score tape, put it on the front of your C piece, put 1 magnet there, and then take a second magnet let it magnetize to its buddy on the back. So this one's not adhered, it just finds its buddy through the paper. Put another little piece of score tape on that one. Remove the backing. Close it down. And now you've got that magnet attached. So that went from there, and then we closed it, and then it adheres. Okay, and then our two little inserts, one's gonna go in there, and then the other one is going to go in there. All right, that's page 1. Okay, now we're gonna get our pieces ready for page 2. The pieces for page 2 will need, your A piece is 5 inches by 9 1/8, and your B piece is 4 3/8 by 5 1/2. Okay, so get those cut and then grab your scoreboard. Your A piece, we're putting it on the 9 1/4 inch side, and we're scoring it at half. And then we're gonna flip it over so that 1/2 inch score line is still over here, and we're going to score again at 5 and 5 1/8. Okay, we flipped it over because the score lines are going to be folding in opposite directions. And then your B piece, we are going to score at half on the 5 1/2 inch side. Okay, fabulous. Scoreboard away. Score tape on the 1/2 inch sections. And you want to be putting your score tape on the valley side of your score line. So where the indent into the paper is, that's where you want your score tape. And then we're going to miter our corners. Okay, get rid of the biddies. Fold and crease. And I'm just showing you the page designs once to save time. Because we're doing each of the page designs twice in this album, you can cut everything out at once and then score everything at once, so you can kind of be making 2 pages at once, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so grab the base pages that you were just working on, flip it over, and we are going to adhere your A piece. So see how the A piece, the 1/2 inch section is folded this way, and then the other part is folded this way. Okay, we're going to remove the tape backing. Add some wet adhesive. And center this at the bottom of your base page. So you've got about a 1/2 inch space on either side. Okay, so this is going to open up, but then it also opens down. And then we're going to adhere the B piece inside the A piece. So it can go either on the left or the right side, totally up to you. And for that matter, this can go on the top or the bottom. That is also up to you. So you can make the pages look a little bit different if you like by putting it on the top or the bottom. All right, I'm going to once again add a piece of score tape here to add a magnet. So 1 magnet there, one on the inside, another little piece of score tape, remove the tape backing, close this down, and there you go. Now you can either use a little swing tab here, or you can put another magnet here to close this part. So you'd put it on the back here, and in this case you'd put two magnets magnetized together already. Another piece of score tape. Close that up, and now you've got your magnet there. So that's page 2. Okay, your pieces for page 3. Your A is 5 1/4 by 5 5/8. Your B piece is 3 by 5 1/4. And your C piece is 4 1/2 by 7. Okay, so grab your scoreboard once again. Score A on the 5 5/8 side at 1/2 and 5/8. So 1/2, and then the very next tick over. So you've just got a tiny little gusset there. Okay, your B piece, we're going to be scoring on the 3-inch side, again at 1/2 and 5/8. And then your C piece, we are going to score at 1/2 on the 4 1/2-inch side. And then we're going to rotate it, and you guessed it, it's a pocket. We're going to score at 1/2 and 6 1/2. Okay. Add your score tape to the 1/2-inch sections. So you can see how this album would come together really quickly, and because there's only 3 page designs and each of them only have a couple pieces, you can actually make multiples of the albums at the same time, which is what I normally do, which is why it's great for markets, because you can spend a day making these, but you can make a few at a time, and then you've got lots of inventory for sale. And because it takes you less time, you can have a little bit of a better profit margin on them. Okay, perfect. Fabulous. We're going to fold and crease all of these score lines. And I have a lot of other free tutorials on my YouTube channel, so if you want to get some other ideas for little bits and bobs that you can add to pages, I have lots of designs on my channel for you. And if you're interested in some more elaborate page designs, I have a lot of tutorials in my Etsy shop that are very, very, very interactive, like many flips and flaps and surprises on every single page. All right, so grab another base page, and we are going to put our A piece on either the right or the left side, your choice. I think I'm going to go on the left side. Okay, your B piece is going to go opposite that, so if you put the A on the left, then this is going on the right, and vice versa. Okay, open those up, and your pocket is going to go right down at the bottom there. And it should fit perfectly in between those little gussets. And then the tag to go in it is 4 3/4 by 5 3/4. And that just slides in there like that. And now we're gonna add a set of magnets to keep this closed, or if you prefer, you could do a swing tab. Totally up to you. Maybe I'll do a magnet on this one, and then I'll do a swing tab on the second round, and I'll show you as we're decorating. But for now, this one's going to be added the same way that we normally do. Just like that. Okay, so those are your 3-page designs, and now you're just going to do them over again. Okay, so on the back side of this one, you do the page 1 design again, and then on your last base page, you do design 2 and design 3. All right, so I'm gonna do those a second time, and then I'll come back and we will do our binding and our cover. Okay, so once you have all of your pages done, we're going to create our binding. You'll need a piece of cardstock that is 5 inches by 9.5 inches, and we are going to score. There's a lot of score lines, so stay with me. You might have to rewind this part and watch it again. 1.5, 1 3/4, 2, 2 3/4, 3.5, 4, 4 3/4, 5.5, 6, 6 3/4, 7.5, 7 3/4, and 8. Okay, so I'll say those one more time. 1.5, 1 3/4, 2, 2 3/4, 3.5, 4, 4 3/4, 5.5, 6, 6 3/4, 7.5, 7 3/4, 8. Okay, so put your scoreboard away. Flip it over, so on the opposite side, where the raised part of the score line is, we're going to add score tape on all of the 3/4 inch sections. Okay, so there's 6 of them. So just the 3/4 inch sections. Okay, at least for now. We'll be adding some more in a bit. So we're going to remove the first 2. Actually, I'll just kind of bring it up so you can see. So we've got there, space, there, space. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of wet adhesive here. And you're gonna fold so that those 2 places where the score tape is are going to come together, and then fold back on the adjacent score line. Okay, and then we're going to fold this the other way, so you have something that looks like that. Okay, and now we're going to do that to the other 2 areas that have the score tape. Okay, and then fold it so those 2 adhere together. Okay, and then fold the opposite direction. Okay, last one, fold these two together. And then so you just want this to be standing up. These flanges are what the pages are going to sit into. Okay, so you've got something that looks like that. And then fold the other score lines. Okay, now we're going to add score tape onto the 1.5 inch sections. Oh, I should have gone with a thicker score. I'll go with a thicker score tape here. Okay, so this is what the back side looks like. So we've got the 2/4 inch score lines there, and then 2 1/2 inch score lines in between. And then on the other side, you've got your flanges. And now we're going to add score tape to both sides of these flanges. I think that's what they're called. These pokey uppy bits. Okay, so you've got score tape on both sides of these. And now we are going to, just like we were doing with the pages, we're going to miter the corners of each one of these flanges. This just makes it so the pages go in a little easier. Just don't cut into the 1/2 inch sections in between, because you're going to see that part. Okay, so now each of the flanges look like that. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, so set that aside for a second and we'll make our cover, and then we will put it all together and decorate our pages. So for the cover, you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard that measure 6 3/4 by 5 3/4, 2 of those, and then your spine is 1.5 inches by 5 3/4. So it's going to sit like that. I've already got adhesive, like score tape, on the backs of each of these pieces. And then you'll need 2 pieces of cardstock, one at 8.5 by 11, 7.5, 7 3/4. Okay, we're going to put 2 lines of score tape, or about 1 inch in width. And we're going to overlap these pieces. So I think that's just a little bit over 1 inch. Okay, we're going to remove the backing. And we're just going to adhere this on top. So we just want a longer piece. Okay, now we're going to take one of the larger pieces of chipboard, remove the tape backing. Now I don't tend to put wet adhesive on these bits because sometimes it can make bubbly ripples in the cardstock on the cover, so I don't want that. So I just use the score tape, and because we're wrapping it, it's not going to come apart. All right, and then our spine piece. Okay, now you want to leave about a 1/4 inch of space in between these two pieces to make sure that they can fold properly. And then we will put our other cover, the back cover, on. Okay, again, leaving about a 1/4 of an inch space. You just want to make sure that there is about an inch of border all the way around this. Okay, and now we're going to add score tape all around the perimeter of this. Okay, and now once again we are going to miter the corners like we've been doing on the pockets. So when you get to the point of the cover, angle your scissors and cut out. This time it'll be a little bit of a sharper angle than we've been doing on the pockets, so it should look like that. Okay, so that's what you've got. Now, this is an additional step. You don't have to do this, but if you do happen to have Tyvek is I buy them in envelope form and cut them open. It's a material that you can't tear, but you can cut it, but you can't tear it. So this just helps to reinforce where the album is going to be bending all the time. But again, if you don't have Tyvek, it's not absolutely necessary. I just like to add extra strength in any place that I possibly can. So I'm just adding Tyvek over where the fold in the cover is. Okay, and now we are going to wrap all of these pieces around the chipboard. I'm just going to do a little pre-bend of each of them first, just to help it along. Okay, I tend to do the sides first, but you can do either or. Like top and bottom or the sides, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, now I'm going to go over this with my bone folder just to make sure that they are really well adhered. Okay, so I like to take a ruler first and just kind of put the ruler in the crease and just bend it a little bit first. Okay, just so it looks like that. So there's our cover. Okay, and now our binding system is going to go the two furthest score lines, the outermost score lines, are going to go right kind of at where the bend is. Okay, the bend in the cover. This I am going to add wet adhesive to, because I want to make sure, you want to make sure your pages stay in. So we are going to be adding a little bit of like pattern paper over top of this part, but you want to make sure that the pages, that's pretty essential, that the pages stay in the album. Okay, so center it top to bottom. Go over it with your bone folder. Okay, and then do your crease again. All right, so there we go. There is your binding system in your cover. And now you can either add your pages now and then decorate them, or decorate them first and then add them in. I tend to do it that way. I find it easier because then I can turn the pages around without a big thing being moved around. So I'm going to add my patterned paper to my pages. If you are unfamiliar with adding patterned paper, like matting, you literally just measure the area that you want to cover. So this one, for instance, is 4 by 4.5. So I would cut a piece of pattern paper that is 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. So you want an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. At least that's how it's normally done. That's how it's nice to like have that little bit of a border. You can go right to the edge if you so desire, but it's nice to have that border. Okay, so I'm going to do most of my pattern paper off camera. And then whenever I'm going to be adding a swing tab or anything fancy, I will show you that. Okay, but I'm going to get most of it done now, and because otherwise it'll take me a couple hours at least to put all the pattern paper on, and you don't want to sit here for 2 hours. So I will do that, and I'll be back. Okay, so once you have all of your patterned paper on, I've done quite a bit of mine in white because I want people to be able to write on a lot of the spots and use it as like a journal as well as adding photos, etc. So I won't go through all of it because you did see it in the opening little bit, but I wanted to show you a couple things. I should have left one of the pockets unadhered so I could show you, but I wanted to let you know that when you're putting paper into a pocket, you just need to go to about here, like about an inch down into the pocket, maybe not even an inch, like at least a half an inch. So cut your patterned paper just a little bit longer than the opening. You don't want it to cut off right here. So I just wanted to show you me adding a couple little embellishments in case you wanted to do the same. So I like to have something that kind of indicates that the flap opens or does something. So I will either take a piece of chipboard, if I have a piece of chipboard that goes with the collection that indicates that that does something, and just kind of glue it onto the front. Or you could take scraps of pattern paper and use like a circle punch and just punch out a piece of the pattern paper, but punch out 2 pieces so you can have one on the front and one on the back, so you don't have a piece of paper just kind of hanging out in the ether. Here, let me just do one and then I can show you. just find out of my scraps here. This is why I always keep my scraps so that I can use them for things like this. And it doesn't even have to be a circle. You can cut out some squares. So let me just cut out a little piece here. Okay, so I've just got 2 little squares of pattern paper, and I'm just gonna put them on an angle onto my tag that's in the pocket, and that way you kind of know that it does something. Actually, I'm gonna use this side. I like this side better. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of adhesive, just smooth it around. I'm gonna put that, oh, that's a little bit too much adhesive. Just gonna put that there. Should take it out of the book so I don't adhere it to the actual book itself. Flip it over and then put your other piece on the other side, mirroring it. All right, and then that's just an easy way to have a little pull tab kind of thing so people know that that pulls out. It kind of indicates that that does something. Okay, so I am going to add just 1 swing tab. I didn't add a magnet to this part. That was our second page design, but this is the second time that I did it, and I did it on the first one. Okay, so just so you can see how you can switch things up. So this is the first page, or this blah blah blah, I just woke up. This is our second page design, the one that flips up and then also goes down, and there's a piece that opens. Okay, so that was the first way we did it. But just so you know, you can also put it on the side. So this is the same pieces, but in this one, I put it on the side of the page, the base page, have this flipping down and this flipping out. So it's the exact same thing, but you can make the pages look different with the same pieces and make your albums look, you know, so you're cutting out the same pieces, you're saving all this time, but you can make them look different. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about that. So I'm going to add a swing tab here. I've decided to use this little dragonfly as my swing tab. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch a little hole in my dragonfly. I'm using a crocodile, but you can definitely just punch it using whatever tool you happen to have. And then I'm going to take a pen. I'm going to kind of put it where I think I want it to go. I'm going to use my pokey tool or just something to put in the hole, because you want to be able to swing it out of the way and make sure that it is going to swing all the way out of the way before you actually adhere it in there. Okay, and then I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to put it in the hole and make a mark so I know where to put a hole on my actual page. Okay, and now I'm sticking my fingers in. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to stick my fingers into this. This is the part that's going to go onto the binding system. And I'm going to stick my fingers in and poke a hole through that. And then get a brad. This is completely optional, by the way. This is just an extra little thing to add some interest to your album. Okay, so now we'll take the brad, put it through your chipboard, and then through the hole that you've created on the paper. Oh, I'm bleeding. Why am I bleeding? Oh no, I just got blood all over my dragonfly. What's happening? I don't know when I cut myself. Did I cut myself on my trimmer? What did I cut myself on? All right, so we're gonna put that through our hole, and then we're gonna stick our fingers in here and open the tines on the inside of the page. I'm still bleeding. Blood, sweat, and tears going into this album for real. No tears, actually. I didn't cry. Okay, so we want to make sure we cover the tines on the inside of this before we put these pages into our album. So I'm just going to cover it with a tiny piece of Tyvek, just since I have it right here and it's out on my desk and it's already got adhesive all on the back. You could just use cardstock for this, as long as the tines get covered, just so they don't come out inside the album, because then you won't be able to, once the pages are in, you won't be able to fix that. Well, I suppose since the other end is open, so you probably might be able to. But anyway, we're going to cover the tines. So I'm putting my fingers in there, covering the tines with the Tyvek. And then when we close this up, it goes like that and keeps the page closed. Okay, I'm just gonna go get a Band-Aid and then we will put our pages into our album. I could only find neon pink bandages, but that will work fine. You won't lose track of my hands. So I do have some pattern paper on my cover already. Make sure that your pages are in the right order and that they're the right side up. And we are going to take the score tape backing off our first little flangey thing here. Add some wet adhesive to both sides. And then open your page, like put your fingers in where the opening is. And then we're just literally going to slide it onto that flange. Make sure it's centered up and down, like even spacing. And then just press on both sides. All right, there's your page one. And then we're just going to do the same thing with the other two pages. And because we did that mitering of the flanges, these should slide in really easily. If you hook the top, it'll just slide in super easy peasy. Okay, and the last one. Okay, so just hold it like that and then slide it on. Just make sure all the pages are even with each other as well. And because our binding system is not attached to the spine, you've got that space in between the spine and the pages that allows these pages to lie really flat as you're going through it. Okay, so that is our album. So I'm just going to do a few more like embellishments like this kind of thing. I'm just adding some little pieces of the pattern paper here and there just to indicate that things open, maybe adding a few chipboard pieces, but that is basically it. So I hope you enjoyed this super simple little mini album, and like I said, if you would like to do some more interactive with multiple layers and really make the jaws drop, then please check out my Etsy shop for some of those tutorials. They're really, really detailed. So even if you're a beginner, you can definitely do them. I promise you. I go through every single step of the way. And yeah, I hope you're having a beautiful day. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It helps YouTube to know that you're enjoying my content, and I will see you again very soon. All right, sending huge hugs. Bye.